Hello, this is Gene. It's Friday before the Sunday, before the Derby. I do want to say before I get into this, my channel has a lot of different topics on it. I did a video yesterday about Israel. Some people say I should do some more videos of that. They're out there. If you just look, they're in there. I want to understand that when I talk about Manchester United, we have billions of people that love Manchester United, soccer, football. We can take away the whole shit that's going on geopolitically when it comes to Israel and Hamas and all that stuff. It shouldn't really interfere with what we're talking about in Sunday's game. Obviously, some of these players have Muslim backgrounds, maybe Israeli backgrounds, and they're human. And there's a lot of shit that's going on in Israel, and I'm going to talk about that in another video later today. But today, I'm just going to talk about Manchester United in this video. I appreciate those who come here and listen to my Manchester United videos and maybe look at my other stuff. I mean, I go down the rabbit hole in a lot of areas. I want everybody to have the ability to understand it's just more than what's being fed to you by the mainstream. And then you decide which one you believe in. Because at this point, we don't know. It's just one of those things. We can look at to the football press. They continually spout shit that never comes true. So it's kind of hard. It's like just a small little thing about that. They said that half of the team was so disgusted that David De Gea is no longer on the team anymore because a lot of the Spanish players no longer will fight for Ten Hag. And then we have press pundits saying this stuff and then saying that Ten Hag will be out because he's lost the locker room. And we have guys on YouTube that have huge followings that have bigger than mainstream platforms saying stupid shit like that, and then 2 days later saying didn't really say that. So it's hard to even this is all about fandom when it comes to Manchester United. I'm going to give you what I think what I think Ten Hag will play in his start 11. I think there's several different ways you can go here, but it's really concentrated somewhere in the midfield. It's just a couple of players there, and who's fit and who's not fit, and what we're going to do. And I'll give you my score position. I did this last year, and I said we would beat them 2-1 last year, and we did at home. And that was another game that people forgot that we played pretty well. They had about 20 minutes of really good pressure that led to their goal. But before that, we were at least at the same level as them, or better than them. We had chances to get two or three goals ahead, and we did not do it. And we have to understand we went down 1-0, came back and won that game. And they couldn't really deal with us on the break. And people still continually say today that we're just a counterattack team. That's a good thing to have in the back of our quiver, is to have the ability to break on somebody. I mean, it's part of the game. It's always been that part of the game. Look at all the great Manchester United goals in the past. You will see so many of them being counterattacks that led to goals that ended up winning championships for us. It is what it is. We are not at the level of Arsenal with the ball. We're not there at Spurs, Newcastle, City. We can't hold on the ball as well. And we're not going to know that until we get all the players that Ten Hag actually wants them in the right position. I said that yesterday. He's got a lot of players that have square pegs into round holes, and it's hard to do that. Where he put McTominay last game, he's not that type of player. He can give you a goal, but he's not really. You couldn't really say he's going to be a striker because he can't really hold up the ball. He can in space, but he's not really good as far as pinging passes first back and forth. And he has this issue that he does not show to the ball. And we do that on. I want to talk about that too, and I'm going to write that down so I come back to it. How we actually do our throw-ins and how frustrating it is that we have a throw-in. I just wrote that down, and I'll write it down later, and I'll talk about it. So I think the biggest thing is Casemiro fit. Ten Hag had his press conference today, I guess the first part of it, and he says he's not 100% fit. Now, what does it actually mean? Does that mean we only get 60 minutes out of him? Or do we want to bring him in like a halftime and then hit? The thing is, we have to be in that game at halftime. So you have to have Casemiro in the game. And if he starts failing later in the game, then you bring on somebody, then you can bring in McTominay, or it can be other players, Hannibal, stuff like that. They can come in there and mess up the midfield. When I go through this lineup, I just continually look in the back of my mind saying, man, we there are so many positions that we really miss Fred in. And I think that he's been the big miss for us. It's not David. We weren't going to win those games that Onana made some mistakes in. Bayern was better that day. We had a couple goals at the end, made it look better than it was. Galatasaray, possibly we should have won that game. We could have got 5 or 6 goals in that game. Can't really blame the goalkeeper for that. I don't think David De Gea would have done anything. Now maybe some of the other games that were closer, we'd have got a point out of. It's early on, and it's so great to see that he saved that penalty, and now hopefully he's going to be fine. And before I go into this, I want to talk a little bit about Garnacho. Great player. I follow him on Twitter. He said something yesterday, and I saw it the first, and I was the first person to respond to him. And I said, dude, you might want to think about delete that tweet. Not because what he said was racist, it's just how everybody will look at it and say it's racist. He's clearly showing Maguire, who got the goal, and Onana there that saved that penalty, and they're right next to each other, and he's like the strong, beastie type thing that they did, because Maguire's was a beastie type of goal. He got through everybody and put it in with his head, and he played a really good game. And then Onana made sure that he was going to be our wall at that. And it just came out. And then we got the FA comes out that they're going to investigate this. And thankfully, Onana came out and said, I know exactly what he was talking about. This should not go any further. And I hope that the FA gets a fucking a sense of common sense that says just let it go. Because he loves Onana. This guy is all about being passionate. I love Garnacho. I love players that come from our youth team, regardless of where they're from. He's not English, but he understands what it means to be a Manchester United player. Look at those celebrations on the bench, how Hannibal went crazy. And I bet he's thinking about things that are going on in Israel right now. I mean, he probably has friends that are related in some way, because I believe he's Moroccan, but I think he's probably Muslim, so he probably has some affinity for what's going on there. But anyway, they're so together. We got assholes online saying that this team is not together. It's all bullshit. Now, again, we have to play the greatest team in the world, apparently, a team that never gets called out on his 115 charges. Meanwhile, they want to give Everton 12 points and get them relegated. This club has never been I'm not a big fan of Everton, but this team has never been relegated. And now the only way they're going to be relegated is because the FA is going to take 12 points from them. And of course, they will be relegated. And then what happens then? Unless they get a fucking oil person to come back in, they're not going to be like City and come back and all of a sudden become this juggernaut that becomes everything else. City almost went out of the entire football league that long ago. So anyway, that's another video as well. But I loved how Onana, that showed his leadership. It should have been right away. But again, it took Garnacho about 8 or 9 minutes to understand what he had done. And I don't think he did anything wrong. Okay, that's what I'm not. And the fact is when people are looking at emoji of an ape that they equate that to black players, that's racist. It's not what Onana did or what Garnacho did. It's what people think in their mind, that somehow black people are related to apes. No, we're all primates. But if you believe in evolution, I'm more of a different thing than that. But if you believe in that, that's what science says. We are tracked with a lot of different places. We're not related to them, other than the fact we carry some of the DNA, but we have DNA of dogs, of pigs. So we're not the same type of thing. And when people get upset about that, because somewhere in the United States 100 years ago that there was a cartoon about an ape, and we need to get past shit like this. I mean, there are more and more things in life, and I'm so proud the leadership that Onana did with that. I just love it. And he's becoming more and more like a legend already. And I hope to God that he becomes the guy that can actually not only fill David's shoes, but come the next level and be the same pantheon of like Schmeichel and Van der Sar, and be up there, and Stepney, all these guys that done great things. And of course, David has, because he won a championship, he won a premiership with us. As bad as it's been the last 10 years, he was actually the team that won a premiership. So let's talk about the team. Now, I don't think there's going to be any changes up front. It's very possible he might bring Mount to the right. Mount has not played, so I'm thinking he's going to save him for this game. I don't know, because we have to have somebody like a Fred type of player to stop midfield, City in the midfield. So it wouldn't be shocking to me if we have the same three up front. They'll have Rashford, Højlund, and Anthony. Now, a lot of people in the comments, people online, people on the pundit says that Anthony doesn't offer anything. It's like, why does this a guy from America? Yes, I understand what soccer is, right? I played it, and it's not the same as growing up in England and everybody plays it. And it's, you understand the tactics when you're 3 years old. You're born into it. But what that Anthony does outside of getting the ball, going back and tracking back and defending, is very necessary in this game. And he was very important in the game last year as well. So when he gets the ball, he can hold on to it. Now, I wish he had a little bit more pace. I wish he was better in the final third, but I think he's going to start. And it would be kind of shocking at this point, because now he's had a couple of games in a row. I think that at the end of that game yesterday, before he was substituted, he was doing well, and all of a sudden he kind of changed the game. Him and Eriksen kind of like changed it, and I thought we played pretty well up to that point. And of course, and then you bring in Garnacho, and he's going against guys that are tired legs, and all of a sudden he can do what he can do. So I think that the top three is going to be Rashford, Højlund, and Anthony. The big issue is going to be in the midfield. So let's go with the defense first, because we'll talk about the midfield next. I think that we've heard that Wan-Bissaka is actually training for the team. I don't think he's good enough to play. I don't think he's fit enough to play, so I don't think that's going to happen. But he's going to be a good, valuable resource to have once he becomes to that position, and to have him playing in his right position. And eventually we'll get somebody to help Reguilon now that he's back. Now, he played like 60 minutes. I don't know if he can go for 90 minutes, but I think he's going to play. So you're going to have Delot on the right. You're going to have Ligeron partnering on the side where Rashford is. And you're going to have Maguire and Varane. And there's no reason why they can't play. As well as Lindelof has played. This guy is like a jack of all trade. This guy is like Fletcher reborn in the defender part of it, whereas Fletcher could play in the midfield and could play anywhere in those positions. Years ago, Phil Neville was the same way. He could play anywhere. He's kind of like the same way. Lindelof, when he came out, he did pretty well. He forced the stuff. The problem is against City, he can't go forward as much as you would like him to do, whereas Reguilon has that in his game. Now, he looked a little off the pace. I'll have to say that. And it's still worrying to me that when he got hurt, I thought it was his hamstring or something. I don't think he's back 100%, but I think he could play there for 60 minutes. And if we don't get any injuries during the game, then I think Lindelof can come in if we're hold on to a game like it's 1-0 or 2-1, that Lindelof can come in and defend there, and then the last 20, 30 minutes of the game. And of course, Onana has to be in goal. Okay, now the midfield. It's possible, because Ten Hag does this, he might put Bruno out to the right. I think it's a bad place, unless you're going to bring Mount and put him in that position, or Eriksen, you're going to put him in that position. The question is, even though, his best team in the midfield last year had the most success was having Casemiro, Bruno, and Eriksen. I think our winning percentage was like 90%. So it's a possibility he might just go back and just take that. Eriksen's played really well off the bench. I think a lot of people think that he doesn't have the legs to play in the midfield against City. That might be true. But I think his value comes in later in the game, when the game gets more wide open, that he finds and unlocks the team. I think we're going to be very similar type of game. We're going to take our chances if they're there, but I think our thing is to try to get to halftime and be in the game. Hopefully be ahead, but not being down 2 or 3-0. It's to be in the game and then bring our better players, more offensive players off in the second half, So the question is, who does he start? Obviously, if Casemiro is fit, he has to start. Bruno's going to start. We note this. So if we just say, Anthony's going to play outright, because I think he has to. I don't think Bruno can play. If you have both Bruno and Anthony are both fit, I don't think he's going to put Bruno out on the right with the forwards. I don't think he will, unless he decides to go like 2 up front, or 4-4-1-1-1 or whatever. I don't think that's going to happen, but he might. He's going to figure out a way to stop them from just taking over the midfield. We've had this issue for a long time, and we have to stop him. I mean, there could be a 4-5-1 time thing here, but I don't think that'll ever happen. If it was just me, I would like to put Hannibal in there. I think that Hannibal and Casemiro would be an interesting partnership. If Hannibal can be conservative, I guess, let's say, and not, he's going to be obviously, he's a youth team player. He's going to have this passion and going against City and all that stuff. All that's very important. So maybe he comes later on in the game. But I think that energy in the midfield would really help us. But I think he's probably going to put, it's probably going to be the team from last year, the team that gave him most wins. It's going to be Bruno, Casemiro, and Eriksen. I wouldn't mind if Mount went there as well. There's 3 or 4 guys that could play that position. Now, the problem is if Casemiro is not fit, and at the press conference you said he's not 100%, what does it actually mean? Again, does that mean he can play half? Does that mean that he can play 60 minutes? I don't understand. But I think we have to have him in that game. If not, then you're going to have the same issue. We're going to have no control of the midfield, because if McTominay comes in there and let's say he's in there with Eriksen or he's in there with Bruno, we're not going to have any control in the midfield, and we're going to have the same issue where maybe Scott will get behind a ball and put it in the goal, but City's going to have 70%, 80% of the ball, and it's going to lead to them getting goals. So it's a very difficult situation. And then you look at all this, and this is clearly not our best team, but it's still a team that can beat City, and City can be had, and we've done it before many times with what they say is a more inferior team. We've done this in City. We've done it at home against them. There's no rise we can't do it now. It's the crowd has to be up. We have to be up, and we have to believe that we can do this. Now, they're basically on the same side. Anthony on that side, and also wherever who's going to be the midfielder. It's just whether or not he decides to put Mount. I think the Mount has to play in this game. So I think it might be Bruno, Casemiro, and Mount. And because Mount has that ability that Fred has, he's not as good at it as far as breaking up the play, but he's good at it. He's probably our best player right now that can do that. Him and Casemiro, when Casemiro reads the game really well, and if he's fit enough, he can do that. He has something above Fred, we think, that he can make it more offensive when he changes and we go into attack. I think that would be a big call, a huge call, because Eriksen's played so well when he come on. But I think maybe you bring in Mount. Mount will make sure that he won't go so forward up, and he'll break up the play, and we'll be in the game. And maybe he'll have a nice pass to Bruno, and Bruno will get it to Rashford or whatever, and to Rasmus and all that. We get a goal, and we're 1-0. And then with 2 or 30 minutes left, you bring in Eriksen to calm down the midfield. Who knows? But I'm going to say Mount and Casemiro. I don't think that's going to be it, but I think that might be. If Mount does not come in this game at all, or if Hannibal comes off the bench to see it out, I don't know what's going on with that. I mean, the fact he's our number 7. People say that Ten Hag has got favorites. He's got a 7 there who hasn't played a couple games. Anyway, so that's what I think it's going to be. We don't know, of course, and it really does come down to what can Casemiro actually give us. And I guess we'll figure out that more today. More of their training, they should be done by now. There'll be another press conference. They always have a second part of it. Maybe we'll get more information from that. I think that the fact that he says that he's not 100%, that could be gamemanship. Not that Ten Hag does that often, so I don't know. But before I leave, I want to talk about how we deal with throw-ins and how it really frustrates me, and has been frustrating me forever. I see other players, other teams that are not at the same level as us. They always have somebody coming to the ball that asks for the ball, and we just don't do it. So many times we lose the ball just from us throwing it to our own self, because nobody comes to the ball. They just look at the guy. Nobody comes to the ball, and I don't understand this. And I'm like, This should be something that they see on film study all the time, saying, why are we not coming to the ball when we have a throw in? I mean, that's one of our worst weaknesses when people doesn't understand, and also on defending set plays. We don't go to the ball. And why I think the reason why that Ten Hag is now more happy with Maguire, because Maguire is now actually forcing himself up, going to the ball. And yes, he has the problem that he's not very pacey, so he has to know when he's going to do this. And I think he's saying he's doing better with that. But he is not going to be the actual. But if we want to be playing Ten Hag type of ball, Harry Maguire doesn't have the profile to play it, and unless he has another guy next to him that's really, really fast that can cover up for his frailty. You can't have Maguire, Lindelof together, or him and Varane. Varane's okay pace-wise, but not enough. So, but can we win games? We did that before. We won a lot of games with Maguire and Lindelof. They're not the most pacey guys, but they understand the game for the most part. They use their physicality, and they have good players around them. You know, when you got Wan-Bissaka and you got Shaw next to you, it helps you as well. Our biggest thing is our midfield has to do a good job on Sunday. If we don't, as good as Maguire has played the last couple of games, and Varane, we're going to be peppered. And whether or not we can keep them out is an interesting thing. So what my prediction is I think we're going to win 2-1. I think we're going to have the same type of game as it was last year. I think we're going to actually go forward. We're going to actually score first. And they're going to get their equalizer on whatever, and then we'll score late and win. I hope that it's Rashford that wins or Mount. Those are the two players I would love it. Hopefully Rashford gets the first goal. But I would love Rashford to get back on scoring, or Mount. We've had the redemption arc for Maguire and for Onana. I want to see it for Mount as well, because I think when everybody comes back, that we have a good enough team to get back in the top 4 race. If we win on Sunday, we're only 3 points behind the champions. As bad as we played this year, and all the people saying that Ten Hag should be gone, and all these fucking idiot-ass people on YouTube saying 1 week I'm for him, the next one I'm not. He's lost at players. No, he is not. Onana did this. He did not. I get it. This is how they get their viewership. It's all bullshit at some point. We need this to happen. We need to see that they can win these games, and they did it last year. We can do it again. There's no reason why we don't have the ability or the belief that we can't beat City. City is not. I just say that after what happened last year, where they complained that Bruno's goal should not have scored, they got everything after that. They got the treble and the 115. Nobody talks about that. And they're moving on as well as this right now, and they're getting everything is going their way. Just have to have the more motivation. This team has won everything. They're not going to be at the same level mentally when it comes into City or to Old Trafford. They might want to revenge against us, but why would they? They won everything last year. Why would they even give a shit about that at this point? We have to be the guys that have to go for it. We have to be the one to be above them. We have to show our intensity. And the question I said when I was watching that first half against Copenhagen, that was the worst I'd seen a Ten Hag team play. And I started going down that rabbit hole saying, maybe I'm right. Maybe Goldbridge is correct that he's lost the players. And then they changed it. What's one player? You just bring in Eriksen and they get Bruno where he needs to be. And all of a sudden we play like a good team again. We have to play in intensity. And I'm assuming that we're going to do that. We usually do well at home against the big teams. We show the intensity. We don't always win, but we show the intensity, and that's all we can expect as a fan. So I say 2-1. We'll be 3 points behind the champions, and all of a sudden people will look at us a little bit different because it doesn't take much more than we're up there in the top 4. I don't believe that Spurs is going to play and get 85 points this year. I don't believe it. I don't think we're going to get 85 points. But I'm just saying, it's early. We've had the most injuries of anybody I've ever heard in my life. We've had games that we could have won or got points from. We just have to match. We have to back the manager and the players. If we do that, we'll be fine. I believe we're going to win. A lot of big games this weekend. I got Florida State. We're trying to stay undefeated so we have a chance to get to the playoffs in football. Of course, we got Manchester United, and that's very important as well. So anyway, let me know what you think your starting 11 will be, and we'll talk about it in the comments. You guys have a good day, and we'll see you on Sunday. Bye.